Hey guys, this is Mersadies with Trim Podcast. Okay, Dill. Hey guys, this is Mersadies with Trim Podcast. I am also the owner and co-founder of the Fellas Chop Shop. I am here today with one of my mentors, my favorite person on the planet, Bobby Rouse, here with me. And today I want to talk to you about just how wonderful of a guy he is and how much he's really honestly saved me in owning a business and owning the Fellas and expansion and growth and building a leadership team, etc. So I'm going to let Bobby introduce himself and then we're going to get on to some questions.
Well, I'm Bobby Rouse, like you mentioned, Mersadies, and I'm originally from Boise, Idaho, and we recently moved back there. I guess it's been close to a year, but we were in Mapleton, so close to where the Fellas is, and I've got a big, long career in a lot of different things, but really what I like to do is help entrepreneurs. And I don't use that term lightly. Entrepreneurs are just a different craft of people that have a different mindset. And so those are the people that I really like to help in their businesses. And so not every small business is a good fit for what I do and for the tools that I have. But entrepreneurs are, because they're always looking for their purpose, cause, passion, their why. And so that's what I like to do, is help them figure that out.
Yeah. I want to talk about how me and you met and how we kind of got started.
Yeah.
So you went to a local chamber meeting in Payson and gave a speech about what you do and how you help businesses grow and structure themselves and the operating system you operate off of. And at the time I had one of my barbers, I think he was my manager at the time, he attended the class and he was like, you got to meet this guy. And I'm like, oh, I've already met tons of people. Like, I'm good. And he's like, no, like he would bring in like good structure. And I'm like, we're good. Like, I got this. Like, I don't need structure. And he was like, I think we should just bring him in and like hear him out. And I remember you coming downstairs to talk to us. And I had met with like several people who talked about how to grow businesses, how to scale, how to structure, et cetera. And every time it was the same thing. It was like, yeah, I'll let you know when you pay me. But when you met with me, it was like you answered every single one of our questions. And you were like, and I loved it because it was like, I got a little feel of what it was going to be like before I invested myself into your process. And I feel like everyone else that I had met with, it was like, it's secret. I got the secret. I'm like, but I want to know if that secret's even going to fit for me.
Yeah. And
with you were like, it's not a secret. Like, this is what I can do. And if you're a good fit, you're a good fit. And if we work out, we work out. Like, you're either going to hire me or you're not. But like, what I know is what I know. And I really love that about you. Like, you were never afraid to like share right away. And even now, you take my phone call all the time, even when I'm not paying you. And there's plenty of non-paid times that you're dealing with my shit,
Yeah.
So I really like that's how I met Bobby. And he came in and had you worked with a barbershop before? I can't remember.
I did, yeah. I had worked with one other barbershop before.
What were we on a scale of 1 to 10? Like, we're a little rowdy bunch.
Well, everybody's unique,
yeah.
Right? And but I think the Fellas, one of the things that I really admired about the team that I met with, which is not the team that we continually work with today, but the team that I met with, I'm like, well, so these guys have higher aspirations for themselves. They all have the same core, and they all want to learn and grow, and they've all raised their hands and said, we want to do more, we just don't know how. And that's unique.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, I've got it. And I'm like, well, then you don't need me to come in and frustrate you even more. And so I think that was the thing that was really sort of set you guys above. And, interestingly enough, when we met, and we were probably down there for 2.5 hours, something like that. I mean, it was a while.
It really was a long time. Totally free. You don't even know if we were going to hire you or anything.
Yeah, and it wasn't about that, because one of my core values is I always try to help first.
Yeah.
Every time I interact with somebody, I really, really hope that I leave them better than I found them. And, just like with anything else around, like a business wants to grow and they want to get more money, that's just an outcome, right? That's
Yeah.
a trailing indicator. It's not a leading one.
Right.
And so people try their best to really try to force the issue of how do I make more? How do I do more? And the answer is you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically taking that phone call in a cab. I was in Chicago at the time. And I still remember it like it was yesterday, right? Mostly because I didn't really want to be in Chicago because that was a really memorable time for me. But you called me and you were like, I need some help.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the psychographia person that will go far because they know they need help. They just don't know the right who yet.
Right.
Of how to help them.
Yeah.
So you guys were way, way up there, in my opinion, on the bar. And it hasn't been easy. None of it has.
Right. Definitely.
But it's worth it if that's really what you're striving for, is to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask you today in this podcast is, you meet with all sorts of different businesses.
Yeah.
Obviously, not just barbershops.
Yeah.
All sorts of, which can be like difficult because each business is so different. First, like when you're meeting these businesses, do you find that there's like usually a pretty common thing that's an issue or a problem that most businesses are having that's pretty across the board?
Yeah, I do. And you're right. It's, the training, and we operate on the entrepreneurial operating system, right? And we can talk about that a little bit later as well. But they're just tools and disciplines that really help you get what you want from your business. And I would say the common theme between entrepreneurs and the businesses they have, the thing that holds them back the most, is the founder and or the co-founders figure that they have to do it on their own. I founded it. I have to be everything to everybody. I have to wear all the hats. I have to do all of this. And having started 4 businesses myself, I can tell you that's true. That's our mentality, right?
Yeah, it really is.
We're scrappers. We're go-getters. And if you want to go fast, going on your own, you can do that.
Yeah.
Because who are you going to ask to make decisions? You just do it, right? Quick, quick, quick. But if you want to go far, you have to have a team. And if you want some semblance of a work-life structure, you have to have a team of people that you can trust.
Yeah.
So the biggest commonality between the people that I work with is that the owners or the founders of these businesses, they just don't know how to get out of their own way.
Yeah.
It's not even that they don't want to. They just don't know how.
Right.
They don't even know what that looks like.
Right.
And that's the thing that will keep them at the level that they're at.
Yeah, it's true. You made my first rock be stay in my own lane. That was I think you made me have that for my 2 first rocks because it was just such a challenge.
You may still have it. You're getting way better though.
I might need to bring that back actually.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, staying in my own lane was so huge for me because I would jump to this fire, to this fire, to this fire, to this problem, to this person's seat, to this person's seat. And I was never actually taking care of my seat. And I was just taking care of everybody else's. But really, I was just basically telling those people, I don't trust you to do your job. And so I'm just going to do it for you. And I'm just going to do it for you. And it doesn't teach them. It doesn't create leaders. It doesn't create problem solvers. It just created me more problems.
Yeah.
And so when we met, that's when you talked to us about EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Mm-hmm.
Right? System.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's really a structured out thing where when I started out the company, I never heard of the word C-suites, okay? I didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah.
And they're like, say to your CEO, I'm like, I don't know, I'm just the fellow's bitch. I don't really know. I don't know what my job title is.
Yeah.
But then it was we had official titles. And not only did we have titles, but we had rules and responsibilities underneath of it of things to hold accountable to, which was such a huge blessing because everybody was kind of just doing all of it. Right? We were all just tackling it. And then instead of us taking this giant ball of a mess and trying to go up, we got separated into our own individual rules to be able to elevate together, which for me was just life-changing. And it was so life-changing to be that's actually that's your job. I love you and I'm here to support you, but that's your job.
Yeah.
But in the past I was it's fine, I'll just do it, And so I was so grateful for you to have bring that system to me because without EOS, we wouldn't be sitting here working on our 7th location. We would be stuck at our 3rd location, and I would probably be full head of gray hair and full-time Botox lady
Yeah,
needed or
yeah.
something, you know, just like,
Wouldn't have been good.
yeah. So, no, I do think that like as business owners, like we feel like we have to do everything. And I'm so grateful that you mentioned that because I mean, obviously that's what happened to me. Like I had to have two rocks that clearly stated that. I want to ask you a question, or kind of get your advice on this. So one thing that EOS talks about is right people, right seats.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first went to our very first actual meeting, it was an all day, like I think it was like
It's a barn burner,
meeting.
yeah.
It's an all day freaking meeting. Like it's intense. It's super intense. And that's when we learned about right people, right seats, and where they would sit. And they could be the right person for the company, but they could just be in the wrong seat, meaning like they could be in a marketing seat, but they're not fit for there. Maybe they're better off in finances, or they could just be the wrong person and the wrong person in the right seat, which means they just don't belong in the company. It doesn't make them bad people. It just means that they're not a good fit for the company. And when I was working with you from the beginning, like I had started becoming a little bit jaded, like, and I think that a lot of business owners may feel that way because you start to do everything yourself. You start to like not hate everyone around you, but almost like resent them a little bit. Like I'm having to do your job and I'm having to do your job and this person's job. And so that's why I was talking like that being such a huge blessing for me of not having to do that anymore. I listened to this quote the other day, and tell me if you feel like this really fits with you. It's not even really a quote. It's just it's a saying, I guess. But Tyler Perry, he talked about how people are like trees, and they're seasonal people. So like there's leaves, and there's seasonal people, and they're just in your life for seasons. And then there's small branches that are there for some weight, but then they fall. And then there's some people that are trunks that are there for sometimes longer, but then still sometimes don't make it. Mm-hmm. And then you have rooted people in your company that are like they're ingrained inside of your company. How do you when you just hear that quote, like what does that bring to you? Like what do you think about that?
Yeah. So number one, I really do agree with that. And the way that I explain it in business terminology is more along the lines of the people who got you here are not going to be the people who get you there.
Yeah.
And that's, everybody takes that, or some will take it as a negative thing. And it's really not. A good example could be if you have one barbershop, you need a bookkeeper, right?
Yeah.
But if you have 7, 8, 9, or 10, now we need to get really critical on the finances. And so maybe instead of a bookkeeper, we have somebody who's a CFO.
Right.
Fractional, full-time, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
But it's a different knowledge set. And it's required.
Yeah.
And it's a normal, healthy thing.
Yeah.
Where people tend to feel like they're getting sort of passed over on that journey of growth is if they're not super clear on the roles of their seats and where they're best fit. So if I was to take a bookkeeper, and I have a degree in accounting, right?
Yeah.
Don't make me your CFO.
I know.
Like there's way better people who can do that, right? But what I do know is I know that if people aren't clear in the seats that they're in the organization, there's really a time where they say, well, I see this other seat that looks like it's a higher level one.
Yeah.
I want to go there. But when we really evaluate, are they the right person in the right seat? One of the things is, do they have the skills, capabilities to perform these new roles in the seat of a CFO?
Yeah.
So the seat of a bookkeeper is going to have very specific and important roles in their seat. The CFOs are going to have different roles in their seat.
Yeah.
So this person doesn't always move into this seat. And frankly, most of the time they don't, because you just need a higher level of expertise, experience.
There's a lot of education.
Yeah, and that's just one example. You could say the same thing for marketing and sales. You could say the same thing for operations. I need somebody who's done lots of operations for lots of companies and can show me a successful history of how they've done that. So, yeah, I think at every level that a business starts to get stuck, and then they break through and they start to grow more, it requires just a different set of individuals with different skills. Yeah. Not because of they're failing over here, it's just because we just need something different.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like that same quote, but
similar.
it's totally true.
Yeah. When we first started, you told me, you said, look, Sadie, like, look in the room, like, these people that are here right now, like, more than likely, these aren't going to be the same people at the next meeting. And it's so true. Like, I nearly don't even have anywhere near the same team. And I've even had some team leave and then some team come back.
Yeah.
So it's been such a huge transformation in just a year of just my leadership team, which is, like, hard in a way, right? Because, like, I get emotionally attached to people who work for me. And so having to let go for the greater good for the company is super hard for me. That's something I've always really not been great at, is I'll hold on to someone for too long, which ends up just being really bad for them too, because then I get back into that resentment phase of, why aren't you getting this done? It's just because they're not capable of it, or they don't have the capacity to do it, or they don't want it as bad. I want it more than they want it, like those kind of things. But it's true, like and we talk about 36 hours in pain of when you let that person go to get to the right seat. It's 36 hours. It really should have said hell, like 36 hours of hell, like just heartbreaking hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, letting go to be able to progress is probably one of the hardest things that I experienced being a business owner. Like switching your mindset from like, I'm not giving up on them, I'm freeing them to go on and do something that they'll excel at instead of me forcing them to excel. So
yeah, anybody who typically underperforms, and so that's kind of one of the key indicators, is you have to evaluate, are they really in the right seat? But if they're underperforming, not only is it frustrating for you, but it's also frustrating for them.
Yeah, because you want to like be excelling at your seat.
we're performant humans. Like we want to do well at what we do.
Yeah.
And if you're asking me to do a bunch of stuff that I'm really not capable of, like I'm not going to go home at night and feel great.
Yeah.
Right? So and this is super common in family businesses. And one of the reasons why is because we create these little pockets and these seats around somebody.
Yeah.
Because, well, you're really good at that. Well, that's great until you start to grow. And then all of a sudden, if that person leaves, we've got this seat that nobody else could fill because they were just so great at it.
Yeah.
So that creates some problems. But this is why we say when we really do a good evaluation and we have tools to say, is this the right person in the right seat? And if they're not, then the tools will tell us, and it's the kind thing to do, not necessarily the nice thing to do. And there is a difference between those two.
No, I agree.
But emotionally attached people, those are the people that I really love to work with, because I'm glad you have emotions around that.
Yeah.
But we need to learn how to separate that from what's, like you said, for the greater good of the business.
Yeah.
Because if we keep them, how many other people are you actually affecting?
Yeah, it's totally true. Definitely true. When you started, so you've had 4 businesses. When did you get into EOS? Were you into EOS during any of your businesses that you owned?
Probably accidentally.
Okay.
But I've spent some time in the corporate world. I've spent some time in my own businesses, and I always used really sound, good practices from lots of good books, right? And EOS is nothing new. I would say that you would say the same thing. It's like, well, this isn't rocket science. This is just really good, solid principles that we apply and put into a single system.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to go out and you have to pick from this one and pick from this one and pick from this one, right?
Right.
And it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple.
It is simple. It really is.
It's really simple, but it's not easy. So in all of my businesses, I always used facets. But when I actually read the book Traction several years ago, I'm like, this just makes it way easy.
Yeah.
Right? And simple is better, less is more. When you simplify and clarify, that's when your business starts to grow. Right? When we really sat down on day number 1 and got the accountability chart all squared away, for that time, it was like, gosh, this is way more simple than I thought. People think in order to grow, you have to make things a lot more complex, which is just not true.
Yeah.
So I've used all of these principles before, but there's a lot that I've learned that have been really, really good. And I've used in all the businesses that I've dealt with over the past several years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you an EOS coach? What is it called?
Yeah, we're called implementers.
Implementers?
Yeah.
How long have you been an EOS implementer?
I've been an implementer it's going on 3 years now.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you've been doing it for like
Yeah.
as old as however you are.
Yeah.
Whatever your age is. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Especially with just how well you are like able to navigate it. Like I feel like we bring you really complex situations. Like especially because mine is a family business. Yeah. Mine's a family business that's growing at rapid pace. Yeah. And so the meetings that we've had have been super intense. You know, we've had meetings where there's been some F-bombs. Hey,
meeting number 1 was...
Yeah, we almost left some people at the table. Yeah. It was just real intense. Like no shoes went flying or anything, but like it was a little aggressive. Yeah. One thing I found really cool too in your meetings is like you don't tell us what to do. You just teach us how to find out what we think is best for the company. Yeah. So it's like you're giving us these tools to get us to the answers. Even though I know that you know the answers because you're looking at me in the eyes when we're in that meeting, like I already know what you're supposed to do. But I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to make you figure it out. And so I love that because I'm like, I know that not only do you know what's best for this company, but you're not going to give it to us, right? You're going to be like, I'm going to help you get there because I'm going to teach you how to do this on your own. You're not going to need me forever. And this is how you're going to get there. And so Bobby, for EOS, for you, like you're teaching us to become independent on EOS. Yeah. And so eventually like our mentoring, what was it called? Not mentoring, implementing.
Implementation,
will eventually end. And so that's also really cool in a way too. It's like not like a, bait and switch, like I get to keep you for the rest of my life. You're going to always need me because I have the secrets. You're like, no, here's all of the tools. Here's all of the tools and I'm here for you. And I think that's really important for people to know about you and in EOS. What you've taught us is you're teaching us how to one day function without you, which is, I think, super cool, especially for a business, because a lot of businesses, like, they thrive off of, no, you constantly need me, right? Like, you need me for a haircut. Like, I got to see you every 4 weeks, but not your business. Yeah. Yours is like it eventually ends. Yeah. And it comes to an end. So
yeah, and it could be, when you guys feel, and it's you guys who actually make the decision. Yeah. Not me. Right. But it's a really happy day for me when a client comes to me and says, I think we're ready to go on our own. So we go through a little checklist. I think you got this. I think you got this. But that's why I'm a coach and a facilitator more than anything, right? Yeah. I'm not a consultant. Yeah. Because consultants tend to bury themselves into the business so that you're dependent. Yeah. The problem is if you're dependent on me, as soon as I leave, then the business goes with me. Right. And I just can't have that. Like, that's not satisfying for me in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. And it's not satisfying for you guys. Right. Because after the fellas, if you go and start other businesses, which no doubt you will, you'll use these same principles. It's like you're going to know, and you're going to be able to start them faster. Yeah. And you're going to be able to grow them in the right way. I remember when I got you, I think you had 2 stores? Or you had just...
2 opening a third.
Opening a third. Yep. And frankly, it was a nightmare.
Oh.
Everybody was running around doing all the different things.
Yeah.
And when I mean everybody, it was usually just you going around because you felt like you had to do it, right? Right. So now you have the 7th opening, right?
Yeah, we can start construction. We just got approved for our permit today.
And that's not me, by the way, right? I mean, I bring in a set of tools, but the coaching and the facilitation means that you know well enough that you know how to manage through that.
Yeah, no, I do.
So at the 7th store, you look in way better mental health and stress levels than you did opening up your 3rd. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And I know
definitely. That. Well, and just like, I myself have like changed so much as a person since our first meeting. Like, when I met with you a year and like 3 months ago, I was 100 pounds heavier. Yeah. Like, not only did my business change since I've met you, but I've lost 100 pounds. I go to the gym every single day. Like, I actually put my mental health first. Like, I get ready in the morning. Like, I'm a better mom. Like, you don't realize, like, when you're in chaos with your business and it's just, your business is consuming you. It was literally just consuming my whole life. And I didn't do anything other than just die over this business. I really just felt like blood, sweat, and tears, hustle more. And what you've given me back is what I feel like is my life. Just I've gotten my life back. Now I can go to work, and then I can actually do things for myself. My whole life has literally changed from EOS and from you teaching us EOS. For all the people that are watching this podcast, like I want them to know just a little bit about EOS. What would you say to them about EOS?
Well, EOS, we really have a drive to help people implement tools that gets them three things, right? Vision. I think you guys had an idea of kind of where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
And you thought, you could see yourselves with all these different stores, all these different places. That's the mental picture of it. But you're like, but we don't know how to get there.
No, yeah.
And you're not going to get there just by Sadie doing all the work.
Right.
Like that's not going to happen, right? So the tools help them help you get traction, which is done really well. So that every time you're looking at people in the organization, they're all working towards that same vision, right? Because you've shared it with everyone.
Yeah.
And they know that everything that they're doing is important and it's part of that, right?
Right.
And then healthy, I would say from our first meeting until now, and I only work with leadership teams. Like I don't just work with Sadie.
Yeah.
It's everybody who holds a key responsibility for the organization. So it's typically, it's Sadie, the founders of the company, and then people holding the sales and marketing and the finance and the operations, right?
Right.
I only work with them because if I can help you build that healthy team, you get your life back.
Yeah, I really do.
Right? You get your life back and you're dependent upon other people and they have to be accountable for their things.
Yeah.
So that's what we call a really healthy team.
Yeah.
And that takes time.
It definitely takes time.
It's not a one meeting deal.
Yeah.
Which is why we meet the first time and then 30, 40 days later we meet the second.
Yeah.
30, 40 days later we meet the third time, and then after that we just meet every quarter.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you really needed that too, because I was even calling you just kind of in between.
Yeah.
So just trying to get even more, I'm like, wait, I think I'm dipping into this, etc.
Which is where the real questions come. The real learnings come in between the times that we meet.
Yeah.
Like you learn stuff and you get out there and you're all jazzed and I have a clear plan of what I'm trying to do, but at the end of the day, that's not where the learnings are.
Yeah.
It's in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for everyone who's listening, like Bobby said, when he started with the fellas a year and 3 or 4 months ago, we were just opening up our 3rd location. We're now about to start working on our 7th location. And what we've done is what Bobby calls is break the ceilings. We would come to huge progression and then we would get stuck. And then we would use Bobby's tools to break the ceiling to get to the next. And if you want to run your business successfully and like how the fellas is, Bobby, how do these people get a hold of you? How do they run their business with you?
I think even other than this podcast, they ought to give the fellas a shout and say, tell me more about how it's helped you. I definitely have websites. You can go to EOS Worldwide /Bobby-Rouse.
Okay.
And they can get to me that way. You're welcome to give them my phone number. This is I've had a very successful career.
Yeah.
And it's been really, I've been really blessed with, all the means and the capabilities and the skills and all the things that I've learned to give back to people that lay awake at night and go, how in the hell am I going to do this?
Yeah.
I just don't know if I can stand it anymore. And those are the people that I feel like can really, be helped by some mentoring, some coaching, and some real simple tools that they can use throughout their whole organization.
Yeah. No, Bobby, you're amazing. I truly feel like if we hadn't have met you, I don't know. I really don't know where we would be, but I'm so grateful we met you. I'm so grateful for where we're at right now. My mental health, my business's mental health, does business have its own mental health?
It
Because if it does,
Yeah.
you saved it. You definitely saved
Yeah.
it. So, I just really appreciate you coming onto this podcast and just talking about what you do and what we've accomplished together and just how awesome it's been. I just love everything that you're sitting here saying to me. I just love how smart you are. It's just so amazing. Well, your hair looks like shit. Should we do a haircut and finish this off?
You know what? I'm super happy that I even have enough hair to sit in the chair for you to cut. So yeah, I think we should take advantage of that.
Okay, deal. We're switching over. I know. How was your flight in?
Fast.
Yeah, how long is the flight from
45
Idaho?
minutes.
What the heck? So it feels
So
like
quick.
it's more time of just sitting in the airport and
Totally.
getting ready versus
Yeah.
actually flying.
So are you guys going to eventually come to Idaho?
Okay, so we have been talking about like our first out-of-state shop, but I'm pretty convinced that it's gonna be in Texas. But Jeremy feels pretty convinced it's gonna be. Oh no, who wanted Arizona? Somebody just asked me yesterday. They said, "I really want to open your first Arizona shop," and so I don't know. If I have it my way, we're gonna open in Texas first. But if somebody else has it their way, then it's gonna be there. I guess first come, first serve with cash.
Well, I would say Texas and Idaho both fit in with the fellows
so,
more than
too.
anybody else. I promise you that.
Well, and with us having Logan, like how far is our Logan shop from even just the Idaho border?
It's not very far, but you want to go to Boise. That's where all the people are. More heads to cut.
Boise.
Which is where I'm at.
Is that where you're at?
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
Well,
Oh yeah, this is gonna be so much better.
I just opened up a like my own session room. I'll have to show you pictures.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Who did you have decorate it? Did you decorate it yourself?
I had a couple of people that I didn't decorate it myself. That's not me. That's so not my seat.
I know. I have to do decorating right now because we don't have somebody in that seat. So I, as integrator, take that seat. But I just do a lot of Pinteresting and it helps me. It gets me there.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's a burden, or do you like to do it?
I like to do it until it looks like shit, and then I'm like, I'm not responsible for this. I don't know who's responsible for it. But when it turns out awesome, I'm like, I'm definitely responsible for this. Of course it looks great.
Yeah.
I did it.
Duh.
But so it just depends on how it turns out. Like if it turns out good, I love it. If it doesn't turn out good, like I want someone else to be responsible for it.
All right, but the fact that you guys are talking about all these remote, I don't know.
Where do you think our first out-of-state shop is going to be?
Well, I think Texas would be great.
I do too. With like Fort Worth?
Yeah.
I think so too.
Fort Worth would be great. Yeah, but I think eventually you got to come to Idaho.
Yeah,
honest
Idaho
with
would be good.
Bunch of gun toting, a lot of veterans, a lot of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's our people.
It fits your people.
There is a lot of veterans in Idaho.
Tons.
Why?
Well, we have a National Guard base there.
Oh, you do?
And Mountain Home, which is just right outside of Boise, that's a great big huge base where they fly all these planes out of, like C-130s. And
That's cool. Do you live near there? Like, are you able to kind of see that happen?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing to say you couldn't put one in Boise and put one in Mountain Home.
No, I love those stills. You know that we've been kind of like pushing a little bit on like our men's grooming line too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been something we've been talking about, is like kind of getting that out of state. We've been really unsure of the direction we're 100% going. Like, are we going to go into retailers, or are we just going to like try to go viral online, or like how are we going to do it? Are we going to go into barbershops? Like what? So that's been kind of a huge thing too. But that's also a goal of mine too, is to get our product like out of state, which we have yet to get a product order out of state, but that's a goal of mine. And to have maybe like a store or a barbershop from out of state too.
Yeah.
So, because that's our second business avenue, right? Is the men's grooming line. Which dives right into what you were just saying, veterans. Our product line, you know that it donates a portion of its proceeds to veterans, right?
Yep.
Did you know that?
Yep.
So that's actually kind of perfect for if we were to go to Boise. That's the clientele we're trying to attract. That's who we're trying to support. That's who we're trying to do stuff with.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
So when we were talking about right people, right seats, like what was the biggest aha after you made an adjustment? In just one of the cases, because you've had a lot of right people, right seat things.
Yeah,
right?
I think the relief after, because during the time you're like, this is just gonna suck. Like this whole thing just sucks. Like I've gotta like let this person go, or I have had to just move someone. So kind of one or the other.
Yeah.
Either way, it's the buildup and anticipation that you like torture yourself with for however many hours or days before you actually pull the trigger. But now I pull the trigger right away, which is great because I used to have not just, I would have hours of pain before, potential days of pain before, and then days of pain afterwards. And so I think the biggest thing that I learned is like I'm faster at it. I'm faster at, okay, this like isn't working and I'm not doing it. I'm doing it for the greater good of the company, but also for the greater good of that person too. Like, like you were saying, like people do want to succeed, and if they're not succeeding, they can feel that. They can feel that I'm not happy or that the company's not doing good, and like nobody wants to feel like that, and like you can't drag people along for that.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Ish?
it does. Okay. So you've gotten faster at it, and that's because you've done it a lot. So you get better at it. And most people think, oh gosh, I've done it a lot. And did I fail at making hires in the beginning? And I think the answer is no, you didn't.
I think the answer is no too.
I think you made the best decisions based on your education, knowledge about the person. Like, I think like people really beat themselves up after they learn some of these tools about how to get the right people in the right seats, about all these mistakes they've made, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, from a business perspective, it's not a failure if you've learned something.
That's true.
If you did it and you did it over and over and over and over again, then that's a failure. But these are not failures. These are learnings, right? I
can definitely feel the pain for like all the business owners that do go through that struggle of like beating yourself up. Like, I knew, I just kept rationalizing it and telling myself like, no, like they're good, like it's good, like everything's fine. And so but at the same time, like with what you're saying is true too, like I'm just so grateful for like what I've learned. Like, I'm grateful that I'm still going to make mistakes. More mistakes are coming my way, but they're becoming less frequent and they're a lot less difficult than they used to be.
And you know how to deal with them when they hit you, right?
I do know how to deal with them. Doesn't make them always easier, but I do know what to do. Yeah. So
I worked in a really large business, and I did a lot of stuff in HR, and so I hired and fired a lot of people, and I didn't have the best reputation. Because people, every time they'd see me, was like, oh, this guy's coming to fire us, right? And, and I'm sure part of that was true, but at the end of it, I always tried to make them feel like this does not impact your worth. You're just not leveraging what your worth is in this position. And so that would really help them to sort of understand. Again, you always leave people better than you found them. And you can do that even when you let people go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that. But but you guys have learned, you've learned a lot. And I definitely used my first meeting, without using names, about experiences with others.
Did you see one time Mercedes almost got left at my store? She wasn't going to have a ride home. I was going to have to take one of the members back to their houses because they were going to get left. Yeah. Yeah, that was an intense meeting. I don't think there was one person in that meeting who didn't cry except for you. You probably did cry. You're probably like, what the hell am I doing? Yeah. How did I meet these people?
No, so you want to know what I felt in that meeting, to be honest with you?
Yeah.
I felt that there was just a lot of stuff that I thought needed to be said. And I thought, how cool is it that I can provide an environment where you guys can actually say that? Because that was a massive breakthrough.
It really was
a massive breakthrough. As soon as that all got out, I was like, okay, well, there's that. But, even thinking back on it, you still get emotional about it.
Yeah,
because it really was. it was like, how much pain? Like the anger is just pain, right?
Well, and with it being family, it was like, so me and Jeremy were married. We co-own the fellows together. You're talking about a marriage of 5 kids and 3 businesses, and my sister-in-law works for the company. You're talking about marriage on the rocks, relationships on the rocks that are beyond this business, that are beyond, all of this. And so it's like, to sit at that table and not hate each other, but a lot of resentment, a lot of feeling stuck, broken, confused, not sure what to do, and to be able to get all of that. And so, I don't feel bad for you, but I feel like I feel like you really got to know us. Like you got to know the worst of me for sure. But that's what I think is like the beauty of people, right? Like loving people at their worst and best times. You definitely loved me at my worst, and I don't know if I'm at my best, but I'm better than I was then, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, those things are hard. They're really hard, but eventually they have to be said. And eventually, and I would have to think that marriage is better. Nothing gets perfect, right? I mean, even in EOS, we say we're trying to get 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
We love to shoot for 100, but at the end of the day, 80% strong in all these different areas, and it's just because we're all learning and growing, I think.
One thing that's really cool too about EOS is it's not just implemented for my leadership team who sits in these high level seats like my COO, CEO, my sales, my marketing, my finance, but we actually do EOS for our manager meetings. So every location that I have, they also run off of EOS, and so each manager runs off of it. And then clear down to my barber, they're all very well aware of what EOS is because we share our BTO and our core values, our purpose, cause, and passion, our niche, which is all in our BTO. But our BTO just means our vision of where the company is going. And so EOS isn't just ingrained for our leadership team. EOS is ingrained for our entire company, clear down to our receptionists are aware of EOS, which is really cool. So it's not just if you have this giant leadership team, honestly, if you just had a single barbershop, and you wanted clear down to your receptionist to know what you're operating on, EOS is great for even just even small business, really. Just the complications, the craziness, the kind of not really knowing where to go. But yeah, we use it on all levels. And honestly, I use EOS a little bit at home, okay, everybody's got a role.
Yeah, you should.
Everybody's got a role here. And you're accountable for this, and you're accountable for this. And you talk a lot about accountability versus responsibility. And so EOS is not only ingrained in my business, cleared out to my receptionist, to not say my receptionist at the bottom because they're the freaking beasts, but clear down to my little 4-year-old little shit. She knows EOS too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that she follows it very great, but she does know about it.
Yeah.
Well, do you feel same with your family?
Yeah, and in fact,
is kind of implemented in your life.
You've got, so my wife is a professional violinist, and so she has a studio of people, and she makes sure that she has the right students for her studio. One's the practice, and so she's actually got a seat for a student, but actually more importantly, she's got a seat for the parent of a student.
Really?
What is the parent's involvement? And she's got a bunch of things that they need to do and sort of agree on to make sure that they're the right fit for her studio. And if it's not, then she says, it's just going to be hard for both of us. It's if you just want to go play in the band, then that's what you should go do. But I'm not the person. I'll just frustrate you, right? And so I use it with friends. Which friends are the right friends? What does it mean to be a friend to Bobby?
Yeah.
Right? And I definitely don't expect perfection, but,
What did you call it? It wasn't you didn't call it your core value, but your, not mantra, but your, just facets. That's it's your way of life. What would that be called? You said something earlier that was really good. It was EOS is just principles. It's good principles.
Just EOS. Yeah, they're just principles. They're good, solid, principles that are good for people.
Yeah, it's not just business, but for sure people. And that's why it's able to be used not only in your business, but in your personal life too.
Yeah. And there's some people that in a business that will try to implement, right? So they'll just get the tools and they'll try to do their best to implement those. But what they miss out on is they miss out on a coach actually looking and seeing things that they don't see.
Yeah, we definitely couldn't have done it with a coach. Like, there's no way I could have read the traction book and then, like,
Yeah.
did all those documents and then the online thing. Like, we needed someone in front of us, like,
Yeah.
leading us and guiding us there. Like, we needed
Yeah.
that one-on-one interaction for sure.
Yeah. And, I think most people do. And
Probably, I didn't know you had so many calics in your hair. Like, this right here is a pretty gnarly calic.
it
Like,
is.
it wants to grow this way, and I want it to grow this way. So this is, like, pushing me.
Well, can you coach it to do it the other way? It's just as what
no,
it is?
No, yep, it is what it is. But it's staying, so I like it. And I went probably shorter than you normally go. But
That's
what do you
okay.
think?
If you like it, then I'll like it.
Okay, done.
Because you have to see it tomorrow for a lot of time.
I'm gonna be with you all freaking day tomorrow.
I know. So you're going to have to see it.
Where are you staying? Are you just staying here in town?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But,
Okay, look good, feel good?
yeah.
Go.